What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to Talkin Mets and Rob. How is everybody doing with the latest Pete Alonso news and the New York Mets? According to SNY, Steve Cohen is back in talks with Alonso's camp. Just over 48 hours ago, Steve Cohen was talking about how difficult this negotiation is, how negative and how frustrated he was with the negotiations with himself and Pete Alonso. And SNY has reported that they're back in conversation yet again. And, there's so many different reasons why this can possibly be happening is that both sides clearly want one another. The Mets want Alonso, Alonso wants the Mets. Reports also said that Toronto does have an offer on the table for Pete Alonso, but Pete Alonso has not signed it as of yet. Obviously, why is that? Because Pete Alonso probably doesn't want to go to Toronto Blue Jays and he wants to be a New York Met. This seems to be a perfect fit for both sides. Steve Cohen talked graciously about Pete Alonso as a player, as a part of the franchise, a fan favorite. And Pete Alonso continues to claim that he wants to be a New York Met throughout last season, through the offseason when they spoke to him. So it's just a matter of just figuring out a median here. They have to come closer to the middle on what both sides want. And clearly, when it comes to structure, Steve Cohen is not happy with the structure Boris offered the New York Mets. And if whatever the structure might be, and we find it out more and more that there's a special opt-out clause that if Pete Alonso opted out, he would get more money as like a buyout from Steve Cohen and the New York Mets. And Steve Cohen was not happy with that and doesn't want to do that. Now, it seems like the money isn't as far apart as most of us or some of us originally thought. The money might be closer overall, and the deferments seem like is an issue on the Alonso front. So if they can work out the deferments and get that weird, silly opt out where the Mets have to pay more money for Pete Alonso to opt out, they can come together and find an even median that can be happy with both sides. And that's where I think the Mets, I think why Steve Cohen is negotiating back with Pete Alonso is because Steve Cohen is probably frustrated at the situation where I don't think he wants to trade prospects for a guy like Torkelson or a Mountcastle. If you're going to give up assets, why not just use money to get the guy that's already on your team? And even Mountcastle, who's a solid player, but he is, half of what Pete Alonso is as an overall hitter. And Mountcastle, again, how is he going to be in New York? You got to give up assets, prospects to get him. Same thing with Spencer Torkelson. A lot of upside, years of control, but you still have to give up to get. And on top of that, you might have to, in a few years, give money to that player anyway if they perform. And if you do trade the assets and the Mets are looking for Vlad Guerrero down the road or next year, why give up assets for a stopgap? Why are you going to go after Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? And if this is true that the Mets can work out a deal with the contract they offer Pete Alonso and a couple of stipulations that Pete Alonso will be happy with, the opt-out's going to be after this year. So the Mets not only would have to save their assets prospect-wise by trading for a first baseman, they also have the opportunity that Pete Alonso opts out and they can still go after Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So it works out for both sides here. It just seems like both sides, this is a perfect fit. We've been saying that for a while. And yes, it's not the end of the world that Pete Alonso isn't a New York Met in 2025, but it makes the most sense. And I think it's probably going to happen at this point. Steve Cohen is not going to get back in talks with Alonso's camp without the thought process of trying to get a deal done. Now, maybe this is a let's ditch effort on both sides to get a deal done. And this might be the end. And if they don't come up with a deal now, it's more than likely Alonso is elsewhere and the Mets have completely moved on. But the very latest from SNY, Steve Cohen is reportedly back in conversation with Pete Alonso's camp. any moment, anytime, this deal can get done, and we could be talking about Pete Alonso in the 2025 Mets lineup along with Juan Soto, Vientos, Nimmo, Lindor, all these guys, and it just makes it a better lineup. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think about Steve Cohen renegotiating and getting back in talks with Pete Alonso's camp. Do you think it's going to get done? Do you think the contract and the numbers are going to be similar than what we heard the Mets were offering around 3 for 70, 68, 70, around $75 million? And do you think they can actually come to the middle here and work out a deal so we can move on to bigger and better things as we are 2 weeks until pitchers and catches? Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think about Steve Cohen talking back to Pete Alonso. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, Met fans, let's go Mets.